You stand up. Before your foot even touches the floor, your dog has already lifted its head. It's not anxious. It's not startled. It simply tracked you here and decided this is exactly where it needs to be. Most people land on one of two stories: clingy or just loves me. Both feel true. Both are missing something measurable. You stand up. Before your foot touches the floor, your dog has already lifted its head. You walk 3 steps, it's behind you. You stop, it stops. You've called this following your entire life. It isn't. It's consulting. In the next 18 minutes, 3 peer-reviewed neurobiological systems will tell you why oxytocin gaze loop, cortisol synchrony, hypersocial DNA. There's a 30-second test you can run yourself. And by the end, you will never see that shadow at your heels the same way again. So let's name them. The 3 stories everyone lands on. Story 1. My dog is clingy. Story 2. My dog has separation anxiety. Story 3. My dog just loves me too much. And then you scroll Reddit at midnight, and some stranger tells you you're enabling codependence. Or your sister-in-law looks at the dog at your feet and says, half joking, that you've spoiled it. And quietly you start to wonder if she's right. Here's what the data actually says. Researchers spent 2 decades on this exact question, and the answer doesn't fit any of those 3 boxes. Your dog isn't following you, it's consulting you. And that bond you feel, the one you've been told is too much, too clingy, too sentimental, it isn't emotional, it's biochemical. Oxytocin gaze loop. Nagasawa and colleagues. Science 2015. Azabu University. 30 owner-dog pairs. Cortisol synchrony. Sundman and colleagues. Scientific reports 2019. Linköping University. 58 pairs. Tracked across 60 days. Hypersocial DNA. vonHoldt and colleagues. Science Advances 2017. Princeton. The genetic region that separates dogs from wolves. 3 systems. 1 bond. I call it the neurobiology trio. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm walking you through each one, how it runs, what it's measuring. And at minute 13:30, a 30-second test, you can run on your own dog tonight to see exactly which of these 3 systems is firing hardest in your home. So if you've ever wondered whether this bond is real, stay. The data is about to answer for you. This moment right here. The eye contact. You've held it 1,000 times. You've called it affection. It isn't. Or it isn't only that. It's a biochemical handshake. And it's the most measured bond in canine science. Here's the protocol. They measured urinary oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both human and dog, before a 30-minute interaction. And after, they found something nobody expected. When the dog held the owner's gaze, the owner's oxytocin rose by up to 300%. The owner, bathed in oxytocin, held the gaze long, and longer eye contact, in turn, drove the dog's oxytocin higher. A feedback loop. Eyes only. No touch. No food. No words. They named it the oxytocin gaze loop. From its side now, you held its gaze. 3 seconds. Maybe 4. Inside that small brain, oxytocin rose. And the same moment, your cortisol, its lab partner, dropped. 19% on average. The dog didn't feel that drop. It wouldn't know the word. It felt you soften. And because it felt you soften, it softened too. Now here's the part skeptics want. The same team ran the protocol with hand-raised wolves. Genetically, the dog's nearest cousin. Socialized from birth by humans, familiar handlers, same room, same gaze. The loop didn't fire, no oxytocin rise, no feedback, just looking. This system is dog-specific, selected for over 30,000 years of coevolution not learned in a single lifetime. Which means when your dog locks eyes with you at the doorway, this isn't sentiment. It's not even just bonding, it's consulting. 1 system down. There's a second system running on you, 24 hours a day, for the last 60 days. And you can measure it in a strand of hair. There's a measurement most people have never heard of, hair cortisol concentration. Cortisol, the stress hormone, gets logged into keratin as your hair grows. Every spike, every crash. 2 months of stress, written in protein, 1 centimeter, about 0.4 inches at a time. It's a stress diary your body writes for you, without asking, without stopping. So Sundman's team took 2-month hair samples from 58 pairs, owners, and their dogs. And they compared the cortisol patterns side by side. The 2 lines moved together for 60 days. And the part that mattered most, the directionality was clear. Owner cortisol led. Dog cortisol followed. You were stressing the dog out. And the dog had been syncing with you for 2 months. From the nose now. This is what you actually smell like. Apocrine sweat. Cortisol metabolites. The chemical signature of how stressed you've been in the last hour. Wilson and colleagues, 2022. Dogs identified human stress odor with 94% accuracy in a controlled lab. which means on average, your dog knows you're stressed about 19 seconds before you do, before the feeling surfaces, before you'd name it. Now, let's name what this is, and what it isn't. It is not telepathy. It is not psychic. It is not the dog feeling your soul. It's three measurable channels working together. Olfaction, your scent. Behavioral mirroring your micro-movements. Endocrine entrainment, your hormone rhythm shaping theirs. Cortez 2024 confirmed the physiological side. Dog heart rate variability shifts when they're exposed to human cortisol metabolites alone. No mystery, just biology. 3 channels you can name. There's a question researchers are starting to ask. Quietly, carefully. If your cortisol and your dog's cortisol have been synchronized for years, what happens when one of you is gone? We don't have the data yet. The studies are early. The bridge between long-term endocrine sync and grief, it's being mapped, slowly, by people who want to get it right. But for everyone who's ever said losing a dog felt heavier than it should, that it cut deeper than people thought, reasonable that grief isn't sentimentality. It might be a biological system being torn in half. I'll know more when they do. 2 systems so far. Oxytocin makes it chemical. Cortisol makes it synchronized. The third one explains why your dog was born already predisposed to do both. Because consulting at this level isn't something a dog learns. It's something a dog inherits. They compared the genomes of dogs and wolves, and they found 2 genetic variants, GTF2I and GTF2IRD1, sitting in a region of chromosome 6. Wolves don't carry these variants, dogs do. And the behavioral fingerprint of those variants? Reduced fear of strangers, compulsive sociability, an almost involuntary drive to seek out human contact. In short, your dog's body is genetically biased toward you, not toward dogs, toward humans. Here's what makes this finding land. The same gene region, when it's deleted in humans, produces a condition called Williams-Buren syndrome. Mervis and colleagues mapped it. People with Williams-Buren walk into a room of strangers and feel like they've walked into a family party. Vigilance gone. Stranger wariness gone. What remains is compulsive warmth. Your dog has the dog version of those same genes, turned on, instead of deleted, selected for, over 30,000 years specifically, so it would want to be near you. So the DNA explains the disposition, but disposition isn't the same as attachment, and different dogs attach in different ways. Topal, 1998, adapted the Human Strange Situation Protocol, a developmental psychology classic for dogs, replicated by Solomon 2019, 3 styles. Secure, the dog returns to baseline quickly when you leave and come back. Insecure avoidant, the dog disengages, stays apart. Insecure ambivalent, the dog approaches, then can't settle. If you adopted your dog, this next part is for you. Rescue dogs almost never start in the secure column. They start insecure avoidant. They keep their distance. They watch from across the room. They don't trail you to the bathroom door. Schuberl and her team followed adopted dogs for 12 months. Tested attachment behavior at 1 month, 6 months, 12 months in. The pattern is consistent across the cohort. Between 6 and 12 months, behavior migrates. Not all the way to secure, but measurably toward it. 3 biological systems, preloaded into the genome, slowly switching on as trust is built. If your rescue is starting to follow you, that following is the data. Now, would you like to know which attachment style your dog has? There's a 30-second test. Let's run it. 3 quick things before we run this. 1. This is not a clinical diagnosis. The real test, the canine strange situation, runs in a lab, with controlled separations and trained observers. 2. This is a behavioral proxy. The same researchers who built the clinical version use shorter versions like this one to estimate where a dog sits on the attachment spectrum in its own home. 3. Here's the protocol. Step 1. Stand at a doorway your dog can clearly see. Step 2. Do nothing dramatic. No call, no whistle, no look at me. Step 3. Start counting Mississippi seconds. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. Count until your dog repositions toward you. Under 3 seconds strong, secure attachment. Your dog is consulting fast. The bond is fluent. 3 to 7 seconds moderate. Your dog is consulting calmly, confident enough to take its time. Over 7 seconds, your dog's consultation leans cognitive over emotional. Still healthy, just a different processing rhythm. And 1 important 4th row. If your dog freezes, or vocalizes, or visibly cannot disengage from the doorway, note that we're going to talk about it in the next 60 seconds. So, run it tonight. Comment your dog's seconds plus breed and age under this video. I read every one. The data we're collecting in the comments is starting to look like its own small data set. But 1 caveat before we move on. Before I take you to the end of this video, 1 boundary line I owe you. Velcro behavior and clinical separation anxiety are not the same thing. They studied a population of dogs and concluded clearly that the two are independent phenomena. One does not predict the other. Healthy following. The dog can rest in another room, settles after a moment when you leave, chooses proximity when it is available, stops checking when you are out of sight. Clinical separation. Anxiety. The dog cannot disengage. Distress signals within seconds of separation. The state compounds it doesn't ease. If your dog is in the left column, the three systems we just walked through are running well. If your dog is in the right column, that's a different conversation. And it belongs with a veterinary behaviorist, not a YouTube video. The trio explains the bond. It does not explain the breakdown. Know which one you are looking at. So, back to that dog. Outside your bathroom door, three biological systems. Running on you, right now. So when someone, your sister-in-law, a stranger on Reddit, the small voice in your own head tells you you are too attached, or you have spoiled the dog, or you are letting it become codependent. Hear this clearly. You are not too attached. You are not spoiling the dog. You are the operating system three biological architectures are tuned to. That isn't a flaw. That isn't codependence. That's the highest compliment 30,000 years of evolution ever wrote into a brain. Your dog isn't following you. It's consulting you. And now you know what it's actually watching for. If this video changed how you see that shadow at your heels, drop one word in the comments. The word you'd use, instead of following. I read every one. This was one of three systems. Next, cortisol synchrony. How your dog has been syncing with you for the last 60 days, and what a single hair sample reveals about the bond. See you there.